It is lovely to see you. I'm the chair of the Henry Martyn Trust. I also spent time years ago as a graduate student in the Henry Martyn Library, particularly. Brian Stanley, who's here, was my supervisor at one point, and David Thompson actually also. So there's a little bit of shared history with a few of us, I think. Many familiar faces here, and we're just so grateful for your loyal support to the work of CCCW. I'm especially proud to have Muthraj and Jenny, and are any of the other team here with us?
No.
Muthraj, or is it just the two of you today?
Yeah.
Ollie and Ruth are here too.
Just you two here, but the whole team. I just want to commend them to you, their hard work, their wisdom, and the many ways in which they're serving CCCW behind the scenes. And hand over really to Graham, but just before I do so, to say that, you know, in this time of challenge, and we see so much division around the world, I think it's even more important than ever that we have an organization like CCCW that is serving the global church, that is bringing Christians from different cultures and theologies and denominations together to learn more about one another, to walk alongside one another. It just seems absolutely godly timing that we can launch this new Friends group, and we can really begin to support CCCW as it enters its 25th celebration and moves on, hopefully many years beyond. So thank you to Graham. Graham is obviously known to all of you, but is also leading this fantastic initiative now. So thank you, Graham.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. And it's good to welcome everybody from around the world, from different countries. And in the leaflet that we sent you in the invitation to this, we said that being a friend of the CCCW, as well as offering an opportunity to contribute to research in Christianity worldwide and to encourage people in cross-cultural mission, we've always had those two things. Becoming a friend means being part of a lively, articulate, well-connected fellowship of supporters and scholars. So that's what we're doing today. And it's great to see you online. I want to thank all the trustees over the years, and especially David Ford in helping the setup of the centre. There's 62 of us likely to be online today, and there'll be breakout groups for 10 minutes halfway through. In being a friend, you will receive a termly newsletter, regular invitations to events with discounts on publications, and an annual invitation to a service of Thanksgiving and dinner in Cambridge. So we would love you to support with regular prayer, setting up a monthly or annual subscription, even considering a legacy in your will, but especially spreading the word to others. Now, we're celebrating the 22nd of January 1996, 25 years ago. We're a few days out. But 4 years prior to that, exactly the same day, the 22nd of January 1992, Kwame Bediako, who will be known to many of you, the great Ghanaian theologian, he preached at Holy Trinity, Cambridge, next to which is the Henry Martyn Hall, for the inauguration of the lectureship, Henry Martyn Lectureship, of which I was the first one. And he worked very closely with Andrew Walls in Edinburgh. And it was partly the concept of the centre in Edinburgh that led to the founding of the centre in Cambridge. And it's great to have Brian and Emma from Edinburgh with us today. So the 22nd of January 1996 was the official opening of the Henry Martyn Library in its new location at Westminster College by Dr. Kenneth Cragg, the extraordinary scholar of Christian-Muslim relations. Also there was Hassan Dakhani Tafti, the previous bishop in Iran. No, it was actually Guli Francis Dakhani who was there, his daughter. And it was Guli who spoke at Muthraj's commissioning in 2018. Thanks also to Dave Thompson, who's already been mentioned as supervisors of Brian Stanley and David Bebbington, and to David Cornick, especially for helping the centre move to Westminster. Here is a photograph of the library at the last third of Westminster College Library before it moved down in 2014 to the principal's house, and we'll be talking to Emma Wildwood, who organised that move down a bit later on. And so just the schedule, I will be interviewing firstly Kirstine, Sebastian, who are both in California, then Brian and Emma for about 5 minutes each. And then we'll have breakout groups for 10 minutes. And then I'll be interviewing Jessie and Lydia Mwaniki. Lydia Mwaniki joins us from Nairobi and gave a seminar in 2016. And then Jorg Housteen, who lectures in the Faculty in World Christianity, before handing over to Mottaraj to say a bit more. So let's turn to Kirstine first. Kirstine Kim in Pasadena at Fuller Theological Seminary. Kirstine, you were the first administrator of the centre, and you're Professor of World Christianity at Fuller Theological Seminary in California. Previously, you were Professor of World Christianity at Leeds Trinity University. You're a prolific author, both you and together with Sebastian. And I've got here a book you did jointly together, which has become a standard textbook. You were the architect of the World Council of Churches Together Towards Life Extraordinary Statement in 2012. Been editor of Mission Studies for many years, and you're a co-editor of the Brill series, Theology and Mission in World Christianity. So my question is, how did you come to be the first administrator of the centre?
Well, I was delighted to be such, thank you, because we've been, Sebastian and I got married in 1987, and we moved immediately to Korea. We then did one year study at Fuller, and then we spent 4 years in India at Union Biblical Seminary before coming to the UK to do our PhD degrees in 1997. So I had spent 10 years out of Britain and was looking for a job. And the Cambridge, the idea of working in the Centre for the Study of World Christianity, having experienced these various different forms of world Christianity, was very exciting. So I was delighted to be able to start work with Graham in early 1998. And
what was it like trying to juggle being administrator, doing a part-time PhD at Birmingham, and bringing up a young family?
It was quite hectic. I didn't get to Birmingham very much, and the A14 is not a good road anyway. But I was able to obviously partake of what was going on in Cambridge, so that was really good. And I felt, that I was somewhere near the centre of things, because there was always so much going on with Graham in charge at the Henry Martyn Centre.
And we had an extraordinary number of PhD students using the library in the centre at the time. So there was you doing PhD in Birmingham, Sebastian in Cambridge with Brian, Carrie Pemberton was doing PhD with Stephen Sykes in Cambridge, Joseph Galgallo was in Cambridge with David Ford, who I think is with us today. There's a picture of Joseph Galgallo, very young, with John Sweet outside Selwyn. And he was the Henry Martyn lecturer last year, who's been Vice-Chancellor of St Paul's University, Limerick. Valentin Deji did a Cambridge PhD with Nick Sikowski. And John Karanja previously had done one with John Lonsdale, who was very important in our library committee. And I was doing mine at Utrecht at the same time as well, supervised both by Brian Stanley and Dan Hardy and Jan Jongenil, who sends greetings. So tell us a bit about the coming of these SBCK archives to the Cambridge University Library. That happened when you were administrator, didn't it, Kirstine?
Yes, I'm not sure that I remember it very clearly. It was quite hectic, and there were all these distinguished people that I didn't really know, having been out of the country. But Graham, being a wonderful networker and also being very good at explaining things, helped me to understand what was going on, and it was clear that it was a very auspicious occasion. And the idea, from my point of view, the idea that all these archives were being looked after and curated and brought together in this way was very exciting for the study of world Christianity.
And the library was quite small, and so having the Cambridge University Library accept this huge library and archives from SPCK was very good. Peter Fox was intimately involved with the negotiations. So here's the plaque. It was opened in the University Library by Michael Nazarali. There's Peter Fox, University Librarian, and Isabel Fox, his wife, who was our assistant librarian. And there's some of the eminent people. There's Dakani Tafti, I was talking about, second left, and Kenneth Cragg on the far left, and Michael Nazarali, and Simon Barrington Ward. So that was a historic particular time, and archives have always been very important in the centre and wider. So thank you very much indeed, Kerstin. If we move on to Sebastian, we've heard a bit about how you met you both were at Pune, and that's where Muttaraj Swami also taught before Muttaraj became director. So that's quite an interesting.
That's right.
It's very good to see you. You're Professor of the Renewal of Public Life and Academic Dean of the Korean Studies Centre at Fuller Theological Seminary. You're also a prolific author, and your PhD with Brian Stanley in Cambridge is here. On In Search of Identity, it relates on religious conversion in India. But you also wrote with Kerstin a history of Christianity in Korea with CUP. Now, did that sell out very quickly? Tell us a bit about that book.
Yes, I think that was quite challenging project. We were approached by the CUP whether we could write on the search because there are various different books and series, but there are no monograph on the in English on the history of Korean Christianity. So we took the challenge, and so yes, it has been accepted very well because I think this book has a dimension of both Protestant and Catholics, because history in Korea, or generally people regard these two Catholics and Protestant are two different religions, so they don't talk to each other and so on. But we managed to integrate this history together. So we did have some criticism because some people still regard that we have different story. But I think people really appreciate that, our approach.
I think it's extraordinary how you write your own books, Kerstin, and you, Sebastian, but you also co-write books together. You'll have to let us know into the secret, maybe not now, but how it all works.
Yes, I must say it's quite challenging, but you managed, yes.
So you were interim director between 2000 and 2001. So explain how that happened and why that happened.
Yes, I mean, I think I joined the Cambridge to the PhD under Brian Stanley. And of course, Brian was director there. And so I often come to his office and the library.
He was director of the North Atlantic Missiology.
That's right.
Project.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And so yeah, that was a great, for me, it is quite familiar. And then Brian kind of took the office and got the post, but there was a 1-year gap. So Brian asked me to direct the center. So that was the kind of 1-year interim directorship.
Yeah, that's very good, because the North Atlantic Missiology Project, Currents in World Christianity, needed to continue for an extra year, and you filled in. But sure. You also worked on the Christian Theology in Asia project, and you edited this book again with CUP. So say a bit about that project, because there's been 2 Faculty of Divinity projects specifically linked to the centre: the North Atlantic project, which we'll discuss with Brian, and this Christianity in Asia project, which you edited.
Yes, I mean, Christianity in Asia project was led by various other people. Yes. And then after my time as an interim director, I quickly moved to the Birmingham to do some research project there. And then I joined Cambridge Divinity faculty as a director there. So I mean, that was quite challenging and very rewarding experience. So I started to edit this book. So that was very well accepted by the audience, and because we are looking at the various different theologies and Asian perspectives. So yeah, that's yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed to you and Kirstine for joining us so early. And there'll be a chance, as I said, in breakout groups, but also from 4 to 4:30 to discuss with people afterwards informally. We now turn to Brian Stanley. Brian, you're a professor of world Christianity at the University of Edinburgh, a prolific author, and thanks for being a co-supervisor of my PhD at Utrecht.
Pleasure was all mine, Graham. Yeah.
You've been a really good friend. You're a prolific author and editor. Your magnum opus I've got here, Christianity in the 21st Century, a world history, which is extraordinary. And you also edited, was it 27 volumes in the Erdmann series, History of Christian, Study of Christian Missions?
27 volumes have appeared to date. I co-edited the series with Professor Bob Frickenberg, the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So it was a joint effort. We're hoping there might still be 2 more volumes to come.
Oh, really?
A series of lectures by Andrew Walls, but that remains to be seen at the moment. But that would be the very end of a series, is basically.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's done its job and it's come to the end of its money.
It's an extraordinary series, it really is, and you've worked on all of them. You've also edited the Studies in World Christianity journal from Edinburgh, and co-editor of the Journal of Ecclesiastical History, which is very interesting. So it's wider than mission studies. We'll mention when we interview Emma your Festschrift, which she co-edited, Ecumenism and Independency in World Christianity. Say a bit about how you came to be director of the centre.
Right. Well, maybe I should go back to when I was working at Trinity College, Bristol, the Anglican Theological College in Bristol, and got a phone call out of the blue from David Thompson, my former PhD supervisor, asking me whether I might be interested in coming back to Cambridge to direct something called the North Atlantic Missiology Project. And after a number of conversations, I agreed to do that. So I came back to Cambridge and directed that project, first under that name and then latterly under the name of Currents in World Christianity, after we merged with another project on global evangelicalism, coordinated by Mark Hutchinson in Sydney. So those 2 projects together were funded by the Pew Charitable Trusts in Philadelphia. And when that came to an end after 6 years, then it almost coincided with Graham leaving Cambridge to go to St Mary's Islington. There was a gap of a year, which, as you've heard, Sebastian filled in. And so I made the dramatic move from one office to another within Westminster College to be director of what was then the Henry Martyn Centre.
Mm. And what did you appreciated in particular about the centre?
Well, I think a centre is a place for exchange of ideas, for challenge, for reflection, and it brings together academic perspectives and those who are practitioners. Those 2 aspects of the world church are so often separated. So I think the change from being a library to a centre is really significant. I'm all in favour of libraries. Libraries are great, but libraries are not places for chatter and conversation. The centre is a place for exchange and conversation. And so I think that is what the centre has contributed to Cambridge, a place for centre, exchange, challenge, contact on the whole area of world Christianity and the mission emphases that go with it. And that was something that was missing, I think, in Cambridge before 1996.
I got a photograph here of the North Atlantic Missiology Project Conference in 2000. So there's you with John Casson, who your assistant ended up being a UK ambassador to Egypt, Jan Jonganil, Rosemary Seaton, who I think is online today, and Terry Barringer, who is certainly online. You look very young there, Brian, but maybe I do too.
I know, we've all
and this was the book that came out of that conference. I remember Adrian Hastings was there as well, the late, great Adrian Hastings. Could you say a bit about the Henry Martyn lectures? These were every other year, and you were involved in organising those as well.
Yes, we've had some really interesting lecturers. Peter Ung from Hong Kong, from Cambridge itself. One I remember very clearly is John Lonsdale's lectures on Christianity in Kenya, and they were splendid and attracted a very good audience. So yes, they've been really strategic in helping to raise the profile of this area of study within Cambridge. I mean, I think the centre has been, in the best sense of the word, a bit of a Trojan horse, really, introducing world Christianity studies into the university in a way that happily is now formalised with the World Christianities programme with Jorg and David Maxwell and others. So I think that's great.
And here's a photograph of an earlier Henry Martyn lecturer, Lamin Sanneh, the late great Lamin Sanneh. This was 1995. And he's with Jyoti Sahi, who gave the TEEP lectures that year as well, and also gave some of his artwork to the centre. Brian, you also set up something called Wisdom in Mission, and I think this is an important thing, linking the churches with the centre and para-church agencies.
Wisdom in Mission was a consultation we established as part of the Currents in World Christianity project, because Pew were rightly concerned that we should do what is now called knowledge exchange, which is one of the buzzwords in academia now, but at that stage was not perhaps so well known. That is, that we shouldn't just do our academic conversations in an ivory tower, but should seek to engage with those who are appropriate practitioners of that area of study. And so it was an attempt to bring together academics working in the area of the theology and history of mission with people who are actually doing the business. And it carried on well after the project itself was finished. It was then taken over by the centre, and it carried on until just a few years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think that has been quite strategic. I think there's still work to be done on trying to jump that gap, which is sometimes still quite pronounced.
Brian, thank you very, very much for joining us, and it's good that you can stay around for half an hour afterwards. We now move to Emma, your colleague in Edinburgh, Emma Wildwood. It's do we have Emma here?
Yeah, I'm here, Graham.
Great to see you, Emma. Thank you for joining us. You're Senior Lecturer in African Christianity and African Indigenous Religions and co-director of the Centre for the Study of World Christianity, University of Edinburgh. You also co-edit the Studies in World Christianity, and you co-edited Brian's Festschrift, which we need to talk about a bit. But you also did a major book just out on the mission of Apollo Kivebulaya. So it's very good to see you. And we sent you and Brian as missionaries to the far north to evangelize the Scots. And it's very good that you've come back to report on that.
Well, thank you. It's really nice to see lots of familiar faces online. And I have to say, in reply to that my husband thought when we moved to Cambridgeshire that he was on a mission to the English, now returned home.
Well, which is interesting because Westminster College itself was founded by the Lewis Gibson sisters specifically as a Presbyterian mission to evangelize England. I think that's classic. Tell us a bit about editing Brian's Festschrift. It's an extraordinary book of ecumenism and independency in world Christianity.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to do this. I have to give a lot of the credit to Alex Chow, my co-editor, who's on there as I moved from Cambridge to Edinburgh. In fact, you know, in my first day there, practically, Alex pounced on me and said, you know, Brian is retiring. We need to do a Festschrift. And I said, yes, you're absolutely right. But so it was great opportunity to work with Alex. It was great. I mean, as you see, we've got Kirsty and Sebastian who both contributed to it.
And Ian Randall is online as well.
Ian Randall, okay, yes, Ian, David Thompson, and it was a really lovely opportunity to connect with a whole variety of scholars who had been able to work with Brian. We had to be quite selective, and since the book has been out or people got sniffs of it, we've actually had one or two people writing to us saying, well, I would have written a chapter in that as well, which I think is shows just how you know, in what high regard Brian is held across the globe. Perhaps for me, one of the most poignant moments in the process of editing that was working with Gary Tiedemann, who was in his final illness. And of course, we invited him without knowing that was quite the case. And he was determined to finish the book, but the chapter before he died. And it's always one of those hard things when you're an editor helping somebody reshape, you know, what was an amazing piece of work, but perhaps had to be sort of a little curtailed for the chapter. Very conscious that he was really working against time, and it's quite it is well worth reading that chapter, and even more so when you realise under what conditions he was writing in.
When you were director, you were director from 2009 to 15, and then you were seconded to the faculty for 2 years. Was that the archives of Joe Church arrived, but you also organised a conference on the East African revival and edited a book with Kevin Ward on history and legacy of that. Can you say a bit about the importance of archives in the Cambridge Centre?
Yes, well, I have to give credit to Brian for organising the East African Revival Conference, although I was on the Henry Martyn Committee at the time that was happening and was part of the conference, and then Kevin and I edited the book. The archives are, for historians, absolutely superb. They give us those private papers, those glimpses, those insights that we don't always get in big institutional archives, which provide a different perspective on things. And one of the happiest parts of my time as director of the centre was providing the archive space, instead of them being shoved into odd bits of the library, to have that opportunity to make that archive space and to store them properly and have space for other archives in the future was just brilliant to see that come to fruition. It took quite a bit of work, but it was worth it.
Somebody online is Paddy Benson, who was a colleague of mine in Kenya, and he's given his archives to the centre, which is greatly appreciated. So say a bit more about, you were the director who was involved in moving the centre from the end of the Westminster Library down into specially renovated rooms in the Principal's Lodge. How on earth did that happen?
Well, Westminster was doing a huge renovation project, and they wanted the rooms that we had been given. And it was quite a challenge working with Westminster to revision a centre that we could afford. And yet it became a great opportunity, thinking about what we could do in that space, how to design it. I think Brian has talked about this idea of a library being quiet, but a centre being a place for networking, for gathering, you know, how in some ways a smaller square meterage might meet all those needs, and the feeling that perhaps we were losing something irreplaceable by moving out of that part of the Westminster Library, which, you know, you've shown the photo and looks so glorious. I think I was really pleased with the results. I think,
amazing.
apart from the fact that we couldn't take out the big chimney breast because it was low down, I think we did the best job we could, and that there is a space for small groups. There's also a space to browse, and I must admit, I miss the library a great deal. I miss the ability just to step outside one's office and find oneself in a place where exactly all the books you want are at your fingertips.
Yeah. Emma, thank you very, very much indeed. Talking about small groups, that's what we're actually going to do now. So over to Jenny Leith to explain how we're going to put into small groups for 10 minutes.
Great. I think we have everybody back.
That was very clever. Dr. Jenny Leith, thank you very much indeed. Jenny is the encounter coordinator and also lecturer in the Federation and universities. We come now to Jesse Zink in Montreal. Jesse, you're there?
I am. Good to see you.
It's very, very good to see you. You're principal of the Montreal Diocesan Theological College, and you were director of the Centre of 2015 to 2017 when Emma was seconded to the faculty. You did your PhD with David Maxwell, who was with us earlier, and your book of your PhD, Christianity and Catastrophe in South Sudan, won an African Studies Centre prize. But you also have done a great popular book, Backpacking Around the Communion. It's very good to see you. How on earth did you become director? Tell us the story.
Well, as you say, there's a bit of a game of musical chairs. And at the time I was finishing my doctorate in Cambridge, and Emma moved over to the faculty for a little while. I've had a great sympathy for the center since I first came to Cambridge on exchange as a student from Yale Divinity School. And it was then, that was more than 10 years ago, that I first met Emma. And it was at a time when I was thinking about a doctorate. And I remember that semester that I spent in Cambridge, I spent a good portion of it in the Westminster College Library, in the Henry Martyn Library corner of that, and was so grateful for the resources that were available there. And at the time I was finishing my doctorate, it made sense for us to stay in England for a while longer, and this job was available, and I was grateful for the time I had in that position. Thank you. And you were also involved in designing and working out the new website. So tell a bit about that. Yeah, that's right. You know, I think communications is really important in telling people about what's going on. That was a large project, and it came off the back of turning the Henry Martyn Center into the 3CW, and you know, I wanted to be able to tell people about what we were doing more broadly than just through word of mouth. That was really important. So the Henry Martyn Centre became the Cambridge Centre for Christianity Worldwide in 2014, when it moved down from the library to the new rooms in the Principal's Lodge. But you were also involved in organising the Henry Martyn Lectures in 2017 with Professor Emmanuel Katangole from Notre Dame. Do you want to say a bit about that? Emmanuel Katangole teaches at the Institute for Peace Studies, I think, in University of Notre Dame, as they call it, although I'm in Montreal, so whenever I see that, I say Notre Dame now. But yeah, and he was a great lecturer. I mean, he's a wonderful person, and he's really interested in the peace and justice work of African Christians, especially African Catholics in sub-Saharan Africa, and does a lot of work of telling their stories and then reflecting theologically on it. It's material I use in classes, and I was really glad that he was able to come over, take the time to come and to give those lectures. What I remember as your time as director also was that you would work on Twitter, and you would say what particular books have come into the library. You'd do that. Yeah, I think that a lot of that was Ruth, who I think I saw online as well. But you know, I do, you know, I said this already, but just think about the importance of you know, before I was ordained, before I was doing a doctorate, I spent some time as a news reporter at a radio station. And so I've had the opportunity in my life to think a lot about communication and how we communicate and why we communicate and what the best means for that is. And just telling other people about the kind of resource that the CCCW is in Cambridge, I think is immensely valuable. And through that, I've been so grateful for some of the connections. You know, I know people on this Zoom today, but otherwise, I mean, some of my best memories of being director are just having a chance to have conversation with people who passed through. I remember, I think I saw Lionel Young on here.
Yes.
And remember when Bishop Hilary Garang of the Diocese of Malakal in South Sudan spent a semester at Ridley, and he spent a lot of that time at the center. I had previously been a guest of Bishop Hilary's in Malakal in South Sudan, and so it was great to be able to return that favor, so to speak, and, you know, offer hospitality to him.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you. You've mentioned Ruth, the librarian, and also Philip, the current archivist. There've been a series of extraordinary staff. Jane Gregory was our librarian, assisted by Isabel Fox, and Sue Sutton was the archivist. And Sue Anderson was the encounter coordinator, what Dr. Jenny Leith is doing now. So we need to say thank you to all the staff. Polly has been an extraordinary administrator and we're having a special thank you for her next month. So Jesse, thank you very much indeed. Let's now move to Hawk Haustein. Oh no, let's move to Lydia Mwaniki, Lydia Mwaniki in Nairobi. Lydia, it's very good to see you. Welcome. You did your PhD at KwaZulu-Natal. You're Director of Gender, Women and Youth at the All African Conference of Churches in Nairobi. But previously, you taught New Testament at St. Paul's University, Limuru. And congratulations on your Longfranc Award from the Archbishop of Canterbury for services to education in the communion. And thank you for your wonderful quote on the leaflet, which we've given to people. Tell us a bit about when you gave your seminar paper, because seminars are key to what the centre work does. What was its subject and how did that come about?
Thank you very much, Bishop Dr. Graham Kings, for the opportunity. It's good to see so many people that I recognize. Yes, I came to the UK as a sabbatical scholar in November 2016. And I gave a seminar paper at the University of Durham and Eden Cambridge and at the Lambeth Palace. And it was such a good experience, especially to spend time at CCCW. And my topic was gender and sustainable development in Africa, implications for the church. So I'm very passionate about gender justice. So in this paper, I was looking at the role of the church in accelerating the role of women in development as a way of doing integral mission. So I was looking at the role of women in development, which is very key to the achievement of sustainable development goals and national development goals, including also the continental development goals. But women have been marginalized in development. There are norms and beliefs that really create gender gaps that disadvantage women in development. Yet women are becoming the key breadwinners even at the family level. So how can the church enhance the role of women or empower women to do development as a way of the achievement of SDGs?
Thank you. And when you gave your seminar, you also stayed at Westminster College, didn't you?
Yes, Yes, I did.
And so this is the advantage of the centre, that there is accommodation that people can use at Westminster College itself, which is good accommodation. Do you think?
It was very good accommodation, and I wish I could spend more time there. Perhaps I'll still come back.
I think that's an excellent idea to come back.
Yes, and what I liked most is the fact that one feels so much welcome and very much at home. There is that deep sense of fellowship of Christians and of the Anglican communion, embracing the unity in diversity of race, culture, gender, tribe, etc.
Lydia, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's probably near 7 o'clock your time in Nairobi, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll see you again soon. We now come to Hawg Housestein, Dr. Hawg Housestein, lecturer in world Christianity in the Faculty of Divinity in Cambridge, and also a fellow of Selwyn. Hawg, you've taught in Heidelberg and SOAS before coming here, and thank you for your quote on the front cover of the leaflet. It's a fantastic quote. People can see that. How do you see the role of the centre in relation to the Faculty of Divinity, but also especially the ecumenical aspect of Pentecostalism, which is your speciality?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, I have to say thank you to all those people who built that Trojan horse that I now ride, or that's now facilitated. And I hope it will not be just a Trojan horse in the future, but actually, to strengthen the connection between the center and the faculty through what we teach, through the seminars that I get to coordinate together with Mutaraj, and which are a great place to just have that kind of exchange. And to answer your question, I think there's a number of areas that kind of come also out of my own research. So on the one hand, there's Pentecostalism, and that often comes with this big challenge of what you might call a post-confessional Christianity, a frayed Christianity, that is a challenge also for established churches, and questions around ethics and so on. And I think we need new models, new approaches to do this. And that needs the kind of research power that a center can provide through the library and those kinds of things. The other area, and that's something I always enjoy doing at SOAS, I've done a lot of work on colonial missions and Islam in German, East Africa. So I love archives just the same as I did with my fieldwork in Ethiopia. And I always enjoyed teaching students how to use missionary archives. At SOAS, we had them at our disposal, and at the center there's some. So that's something to explore and to strengthen that connection. And then finally, again, the seminars to really bring into contact academic research, cutting edge academic research, and practitioners, especially around the issues of development and Christianity, which is another small area of research for me as well, on sustainable development and Christianity. So all of those really come together, and we need, world Christianity is a really exciting subject beyond the historical research, also what's going on now, where Christianity is traveling, and the boundary lines also between Christianity and Islam, development, other areas. So there's lots and lots of work to do. So.
Yeah, and you're a fellow of Selwyn College, and Professor Joseph Galgallo, who gave the Henry Martyn lectures last year, was a PhD student at Selwyn, supervised by David Ford, who's been with us today. And
a lot of good camel stories from that.
Yes, that's right. But say a bit about the Henry Martyn lectures, which is jointly in the Faculty of Divinity and the Centre.
Yeah, so the Henry Martyn lectures happen every 2 years, and they're a prestigious lecture series that then is published, and they're a good place for the centre to showcase the work and the people who've come through the centre. So I think we're still in the process of planning the ones for next year, but I'm very much looking forward to those.
Hawg, thank you very, very much indeed. And Dr. Mutaraj Swami, who we go to now, lectures for you in the Faculty on World Christianities as well. So Mutaraj is currently the present director of the Cambridge Centre for Christianity Worldwide, the first Indian subcontinent director. And you started in 2018. You did your PhD at Edinburgh. You're a prolific author as well, an extraordinary organizer. And there's a lovely link with Pune, where both Sebastian and Kirsten Kim taught and you taught before. Your book on the problems of interreligious dialogue is extraordinary, and your Archbishop's Lent book 2019 on reconciliation. So say a bit about your your vision for the centre and what's happening this Silver Jubilee year.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Graham, and hi, friends. Very good to see you all today. And thank you very much for joining us for the launch of the Friends of the Cambridge Centre for Christianity Worldwide. This has been really a wonderful event. And I would like to thank you all. Thank you very much for making it a success. I should say personally, this has been a great experience for me to see and meet all my predecessors, directors of CCCW at once, all together, and also many of you who have been associated with the center in one or other way. And thanks to all colleagues who have shared about your experience about the center, Christine, Sebastian, Brian, Emma, Jesse, Lydia, and Yog. Wonderful to have you all today. And thank you very much for your enriching conversations. And thanks, Bishop Graham, for conducting the interviews and facilitating the conversations, and also for sharing the Friends of CCCW. So as we have heard from friends and colleagues, CCCW and the Henry Martyn Trust that runs it are involved in promoting Christian mission for several decades, both since 1881, both its research and practice. And thanks to many friends who have offered staunch and continuing support. One of the unique things about the center, as we have also heard, and I should say here, which also attracted me to work to come and work at CCCW, is its commitment to work in bridging and connecting. This is built on Henry Martyn's legacy and his influence on several generations of missionaries and scholars. CCCW works at the intersections of church, mission, and academy. I still remember this is a phrase actually that really caught. And as Brian already pointed out, when we have this a lot of polarization and binary between academics and mission, or academic and ministry, which I've been struggling with. When I saw that CCCW is committed to that, this is what actually really motivated me. So the intersection of church, mission, and academy, and we will continue to journey in this direction. We believe that an essential feature of world Christianity is the way different expressions of Christianity in the global South and global North are connected. CCCW is fully committed to this work on bridging, and we look for facilitating more exchange, encounter, and dialogue through our various activities, including research in world Christianity. We have become a full member of the Cambridge Theological Federation recently, which offers the possibility of recruiting postgraduate students who will be based in the center to do MPhil, PhD, and professional doctorates. This will be in addition to what we are already doing in the Faculty of Divinity as well. Our aim is to have Global South students also join us to study and research and to contribute to the encounter and dialogue in world Christianities. We will greatly appreciate your support towards these ends. We thank you very much for your interest in the work of the center, and we encourage you and invite you to become a friend of the center and engage with us and support us. Please get in touch with us if you would like to become a friend of CCCW. Many of you have already written to us and have expressed your interest. We are thankful to you, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you and send you more details. Before I conclude, I would like to share some information about a few events we will have throughout this year as part of our Silver Jubilee celebrations. On 22nd February at 4:30 p.m., we, in collaboration with the Theological Education in the Anglican Communion, TEAC, are launching our recently published book, Listening Together, a Global Anglican Perspectives on the Renewal of Prayer and Religious Life. This is a third book in the Preparing for the Lambeth Conference series, written by Anglican and ecumenical scholars and theologians from different parts of the globe, and published by ACO in the UK and the Forward Movement in the USA. This is a project for which I do part-time work at the Anglican Communion Office with Stephen Spencer, who is here with us today. The other two books in the series are Walking Together, which is on reconciliation, and Witnessing Together, which is on evangelism and witness. Bishop David Walker, Bishop of Manchester, will launch the book, and several contributors to the book and to the whole series will join us today. You know, some of you are already here today. You all are very warmly welcome, and it will be on 22nd February at 4:30 p.m. on Zoom. We will also have 5 CCCW Silver Jubilee lectures on the theme Transfiguring World Christianity, each lecture focusing on Christian mission and world Christianity in the light of some contemporary issues and topics: the pandemic, ecumenism, reconciliation, engagement, and science and religion. They will take place in different times of the year, and we will send you the details in the next few days. We also have our regularly timely seminars, as Jörg already mentioned, that we do in collaboration with the World Christianities Department at the Faculty of Divinity. And we have 3 seminars this term, and the first seminar will be tomorrow, 27th at 4 p.m. on Zoom. Dr. Anna Kirchner from the Heidelberg University, Germany, will speak on Arab evangelicals in Israel, identity in conflict. You all are warmly welcome for that as well. To register for the seminar, please email sender@cccw.cam.ac.uk. And we will have 2 more 2 seminars in the next term, and we will have our friends joining for that too. As part of our Silver Jubilee celebrations, we are also publishing 2 books. One is a history of CCCW written by Ian Randall, Graham Kings, and myself, to be published in the next few months. And another one is a Silver Jubilee volume on the title Connecting Christianities, World Christianity and Mission in the 21st Century. I'm again happy that some of the contributors, you are here today with us. So in this volume, 25 essays will be written by friends of the center who are working in the field of world Christianity and mission. We have information about these books on our website, but if you want to know more about these, please get in touch with us. So thanks once again for joining us today. Thanks, Sarah and other trustees of the Henry Martyn Trust for joining us today. And thanks, Graham, for chairing the launch. And thanks to all of you. For some, it was a very short notice, but you made it, and thank you very much for joining. So that's all from me. And to close this event, if Graham, you don't have anything else to say, I invite everyone to say the grace together to formally close this event. And after saying grace, please feel free to stay if you'd like to join us for an informal interactions with other friends. That will go for about half an hour, and Graham will bring it to a conclusion at 4:30 p.m. Again, let us say the grace together. May the grace of our Lord
Jesus Christ,
the love of
God,
and the
fellowship of the Holy Spirit
be with us all, evermore,
and forever.
Amen.
and
Thank you. Thank you very much.